Hey y'all, this is Jessica with Bless Your Heart. Let's do a dark wood grain with some peekaboos. We're going to start with a prepped and sanded cup. This is a 30-ounce modern curve, and I used Color Shot Head in the Clouds. I cut my decals with my silhouette, and I'm using Orcal 631, which is a removable vinyl, and I'm hoping it's not going to take up any of that paint. I'm going to put these down, kind of center them in the top a little bit. The bottoms of them will go past the curve, so I'm going to be kind of a little extra diligent whenever I'm pushing that down to kind of help with creases or lines or anything, because I don't want any of my alcohol inks to get underneath that. When you're pulling that transfer tape off, you really kind of want to keep it as close to the cup as possible. You can kind of see here that I do not have that done that way, and these little bits and pieces, I'm getting kind of like little lifts. It's going to be okay because I can go in and push it down, but you really want to keep that transfer tape as close to the cup as possible. So for the back side, I'm going to go in and try my best to eye the center and just go in and use the hinge method with this, and I'm going to go letter by letter and push it down because that is right where that curve comes up. You're going to see here that I keep that transfer tape. I learned from my mistake, thank goodness, but I keep that transfer tape right with the cup, and I'm not having an issue at all with little lift marks or anything like that. So learn from my mistakes if you need to, or learn from your own, whatever's easiest. But once you get both of those decals on, you kind of want to sit back and admire your handiwork and move on to the next step. For all my alcohol inks today, I'm going to use Brie Reese. I'm going to use Fog, Slate, and Mars Black. And then I have a little cup of just straight alcohol right there. And then my gnarly used up alcohol ink brush. I do not use a chip brush. I don't like the way it looks. And I cannot stand when I get those little pieces that break off of the brush and I have to fish them out of my cup. It's not my cup of tea. So to start with, I'm going with the lightest color, which is Fog, and I'm making a line from the top of the cup to the bottom of the cup, and I'm moving my brush up and down, and I'm going into the other section that I have already completed at least half, sometimes more, sometimes not so much, but I try to go at least half. And to me, that's how I get it to look like it's got those lines of wood. Then I'm going to move on to Slate. And this is going to be one that I'm going to do kind of the top here and the bottom there. And you want to use your brush, spread that ink in the way that you want it to thin out. So if you want it to thin out towards the top, you want to take your brush from the bottom, kind of on its side, and go all the way to the top. If you want it to thin out on the bottom, you want to start at the top with the brush on its side and kind of flare it to the bottom. That may not make sense, but you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And then after I get done with that, I'm going to kind of turn it around and make sure I don't need to add any more. And then I'm going to move on to the Mars Black. Now this little bit will go a lot of ways. You want to just kind of dot it where you need it. And you can see I have that little dot there. So I'm going to kind of try to fix it. It turns out not so bad anyways, but with the black you just need a dot, and it's the same as you did with the Slate. If you want it to kind of look like it's coming up from the bottom, you need to start at the bottom and kind of short bursts move it to the top, and only use a dot at a time because this will take over. And if you do get to a place that you've got too much alcohol ink, you can always dip your paintbrush into the actual alcohol, and that will kind of lighten or erase where you need to take it off at. Now for taking the vinyl off, like I said, I use removable, so this is not going to be a big deal at all. But I just use my little weeding tool, pick it off, and then make sure that it still looks good. And then I'm going to epoxy until smooth. And this cup should be done. And here's our finished results. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.